right, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the August 23rd Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals for the City of Murfreesboro. A reminder, we are being recorded audio for YouTube. It does appear we have a quorum. First item, review and approve minutes from our last meeting.
Chairman Picklesheimer, do you mind if you take a roll?
No, be glad to. Carolyn Lesser, of course, is not here. Matthew?
Aye, or here.
John?
Here.
Lyle Lynch?
Here.
Here, Ryan Maloney.
Ben Blake? Here. All right.
Kevin.
Here.
All right, back to the minutes. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move for approval of the minutes as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No one opposed? All right. We have an appeal of a decision. Kevin, you want to present this for the city?
I will. Thank you, Chairman Picklesheimer, Board. So before you today, we have a property located at 1509 Brinkley Road. I believe it's a storage complex. We have recently reviewed these plans in office, sent comments, and Mr. Coleman has appealed a decision, and our decision on the code states that basically anytime you're in a building or on the property, you have to be within 500 feet of a restroom. So I believe, and Mr. Coleman, feel free to correct me, phase one of the storage unit was started in maybe 2016, 17. It wrapped up roughly 2019. So it sat for 2 or 3 years, completed phase one. So now they've come back and wanted to add a second phase and expand on that. And with this addition, we found once they expand on the second phase, that's going to push them over that travel limit of 500 feet. I think it's roughly going to be maybe 900 feet, the farthest away. But the challenge here is the placement of the current restroom, and in order to install this restroom in the back of the facility to meet that 500 feet, they're going to have to go through phase one somehow to do that. So that's pretty much it on our side. I'll let Mr. Coleman and Mr. Rogers present the case and add it to the facts. So go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. My name is John Rogers, and I've got the privilege this afternoon of representing Sam Coleman, and his LLC is the actually owner of the property, CWC Partnership. It's a general partnership with he and his wife. And they have developed this self-storage facility called Pack Rat Storage on Brinkley Road. It's zoned commercial fringe, and it was given special use permit approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals back in 2014. The property's, I wouldn't say a shotgun, but it is certainly longer, extends away from the road farther than it is wide. And so and they've been developing it from front to back. So phase one and phase two consists of about 10 storage buildings in this. I think Joseph Adelot pioneered the fortress style of storage facilities, and that's kind of the style here, where you got all these storage units that surround the perimeter of the property. The office, of course, is up front, and that's where bathrooms are currently located, in the office, right there along Brinkley Road. Then behind that's phase one and phase two, going back toward the back of the property. Phase one and phase two is almost entirely concreted, except for a small lot where there's currently some outdoor parking on, and that's still gravel. But they're now about to commence phase three. That was approved by the Planning Commission a few months ago, and they are all set. But as Kevin noted, during permit approval process. The issue came up with regard to whether or not Sam is going to need to install another set of bathrooms in this property to meet what this international building code requires, that bathrooms be no more than 500 feet apart. Part of Phase 3 will be certainly within 500 feet. But as Kevin noted again, part of it will extend outside that 500 feet. To kind of give you some context, the code, and you may have it in front of you, may not, but the portion of the code says that for structures and tenant spaces intended for public utilization, customers, patrons, and visitors shall be provided with public toilet facilities. Employees associated with structures and tenant spaces shall be provided with toilet facilities. The number of plumbing fixtures shall be provided in accordance with Section 4.03. So we look at 4.03.3.3, and that says that in occupancies other than covered and open mall buildings, the required public and employee toilet facilities should be located not more than 1 story above or below the space required to be provided with toilet facilities, and the path of travel to such facilities should not exceed a distance of 500 feet. So that's the ordinance that we're dealing with. And here's why we're here today. There is a very important exception to this particular ordinance. It says, exception, public toilet facilities shall not be required for 2 things. Number 1, parking garages operated without parking attendants. And 2, structures and tenant spaces intended for quick transactions, including takeout, pickup, and drop-off, having a public access area less than or equal to 300 square feet. So that's why we're here today. I believe that this particular use falls squarely within this exception to the code. That's our first argument. Our second argument is, even if the board finds it doesn't fall squarely within this exception, we do believe that requiring additional bathroom facilities in this project would result in an undue hardship for this particular project. Looking first at this parking garage exception, I believe that the same thought process that went into parking garage exceptions applies to this particular project. The parking garages are intended for very quick, as indicated in Part 2, very quick, brief visits. Parking garages are virtually no different than a self-storage facility, in the sense that you have well-defined spaces that are intended for people to store something. And that's it. They drop it off and they get out. So we think that from that standpoint, the same reasoning that applies to Section 1 would apply to self-storage facilities in this particular project. Also, although it may not be specifically mentioned, self-storage facilities in Exception 1, which just talks about and addresses parking garages, it certainly would fall squarely within Exception number 2, which is structures and tenant spaces intended for quick transactions, including takeout, I don't know about that, but pickup and drop-off. Absolutely, it's exactly what is going on here at this particular location. It does say having a public access area less than or equal to 300 square feet. The public access area would constitute driveways. It's not an area that is intended for public to linger or to visit or to do anything other than drive across. Then you have all these little private areas. So, and even the private areas itself, I think the largest one is 12 by 30, putting it just slightly over the 300 square feet. I would also say that I think it's probably within the city's desire, intent, that lingering and long visits be discouraged at facilities like this. I know the city's had problems in the past with bands setting up shop in these storage units, people living in these storage units. I think that's probably even more fuel to the argument that self-storage facilities are uniquely situated to not fall and be accepted from these otherwise requirements of the plumbing code. So that being said, if the board does believe that it still nevertheless falls within the zoning or these code requirements, we would show the board that if Mr. Coleman were required to construct these facilities, he would have to go through about 250 feet of concrete, not gravel, but concrete, coming from the office area all the way back toward the back of the property before he could get to phase 3. And so we believe that in and of itself, it constitutes an undue hardship, but combined with the fact that it would simply create something that would either extremely seldom or never be used is really just a completely unjustifiable expense and requirement for this particular project. And for that reason, we're asking the board to allow this project to move forward without the requirement of having to place bathrooms within 500 feet of each other. And Mr. Coleman is here, more than willing to answer any questions that the board may have.
Any questions from the members?
Let's talk about the public access area. I'm looking at this site plan. Really, it's a satellite view. So you pull in off the road, and there's just several parking spaces. Where is the gate that you would go through?
Do you have a better picture of the property?
Gate's just right there.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's somewhere in that area, yeah. It's right, is it right past your parking lot area?
It is,
Going straight to right here.
the gate is right here,
All right.
Turn down those.
and the office is right here.
Yeah. I would contend that there's really no public. I mean, you wouldn't drive by here and say, I need to go to the bathroom, pull in here and use this bathroom and drive off.
I hope not.
That would, that would be a public space. So I would almost contend that there is no, that the public space is zero. It's a private business. Structures intended for quick transactions. Drop off having a public access area less than 300 square feet. I guess it's public until if you drive up to the office
Yeah, I would,
and rent your space, but then after that, you're given a key and it's really not public because public people don't have to have a key to get in.
they do have that key.
Kevin, would building codes define public access, that which is outside of the gate in this scenario? And what precedents maybe has building code seen with other storage facilities in this requirement?
Really, in other storage facilities, we haven't seen that yet. Normally, that code section we see a lot, use it a lot, say Papa John's, for instance, right? You're going to run in, grab a pizza,
Okay.
and go. That public front area is less than 300 square feet. It's
Okay.
usually just that lobby, front counter, couple hundred square feet, couple chairs, you're picking your food up and going. So that's normally how we've seen it in the past. We have not ran into this situation yet with a storage unit, and it's one of those where this met code in the beginning, right? And then you think years down the road, all of a sudden we add another phase. And I don't think, we're not thinking 6 years down the road. And all of a sudden, we've come back, and now we've got this restroom, so.
And whatever we do here, I can imagine we'll see again in the future, or it'll set precedent. How's that?
Possibly.
Yeah.
It could, hopefully not, but
I think we'd like the opportunity to stay within the code, if at all possible.
Yep.
Can you guys help with maybe understanding what is the public access, the lobby space within the office area? Do you have an estimate of that square footage?
I don't right now.
But you do have restrooms in that facility?
Oh, yes, handicap restroom.
Yeah, I mean, that whole building up front looks like it's probably a few hundred square feet, maybe 1,000 at most.
I'm gonna say it's about 1,600.
And I assume you have a attendant office, restroom space, file storage. What portion of that is accessible to the public?
On the lobby area? Just guessing, I'd say it'd be about 700 square foot, 600, 700.
Is it all one story?
Yep.
It is basically drive in and drive out.
Well, in a practical manner too. Everybody comes in here's got a vehicle. Nobody's
And a
gonna
key.
walk from back there. 500 feet, they're gonna get back in the vehicle and drive back to the office.
Yes.
I think it'd be detrimental. I would rather not have a toilet than have, have to try to maintain, if you didn't have to go through 250 feet of concrete.
I agree.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, we've got some of these facilities around town that don't even have an office, therefore no bathroom. Now, they may be so old, maybe that's why, but I know I've seen a few that don't even have an office on site, that are specifically storage. What about some of our newer multi-level? Are they having a bathroom on each floor?
yeah,
On every floor they are?
not every floor. You don't have a restroom
Is
on
it every
I
other?
think it's every other floor.
So we've got some out in the gateway, I know that are 3 or 4 stories, and they don't have them just on the bottom floor, they've got them up.
I'd have to go back and check to be sure on that, Matt, but
They're everywhere now.
Kevin, that brings up a question for me. This is IBC, but this is also governed by ANSI 117 and ADA. Are you aware of any travel distances, particularly ADA?
I don't believe it's any different than what's in the code already, the 500 feet as far as travel distance. Now,
We have the authority to grant a variance on the code, but we cannot grant a variance on ADA.
yeah, obviously these restrooms would still have to be ADA accessible, the existing ones. Are these restrooms, do they close at a certain time? Does the office close and the, rest of the storage area stay open, or?
It's office hours,
Okay,
Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturday, 8 to 5, and then Sunday, 12 to 4.
That's your office? What are the gate operating hours, I think is what you were asking,
Right.
right, Kevin?
6 to 10.
okay.
I don't think ADA has anything about number of toilets. Well, it says if you have this many, then this many have to be handicapped.
Right.
But I don't think it addresses travel distance or number per occupants,
Right. I don't know. I'm just kind of bringing it up as research on your end because we can't grant any variances on their requirements.
What kind of occupant load do you expect on final build-out?
As far as units,
Well, users coming in and out at any given time, and what sort of numbers would you expect?
on what now?
On the come and go, the pickup, drop off, how many might be in the facility at one time?
At one time,
Just a estimate if you have one.
369 units now. No more than 7 or 8 at a time. A lot of people move and really never come back until they move back out. It's amazing. Not a lot of traffic.
been my experience going to storage unit. There's just not that many people there.
Yeah, it's surprising. And a lot of I told John a minute ago, most of ours, 75% of the smaller units, 5 by 10 to 10 by 15. So there's not a whole lot you can put in these. Now, the bigger units, which is 25%, that's more like a house full. So it's just not a lot of traffic.
I think it's a parking garage, and I think the next one would be we would do the same thing, to be honest. I mean, we're not gonna do this for one time and not do it for the next guy who wants to develop a long, skinny storage place.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable request, given the fact that, you know, the 500-foot distances for occupants that are probably on their feet, not driving a vehicle back out of the site.
Here's the other thing, if there's an employee, that employee's gonna spend a large quantity of their time in that little office and not back at the units. They would really have no reason to go back to the corner unit to. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for granting the variance, and I base it on exception 1 to 2902.3.
I'll second
Say
that.
that we classify, for plumbing code purposes, we classify this as a temporary storage and therefore a parking garage.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It has passed. I have to admit, it was a very well-written response, too, compared to what we normally see.
Good job.
I'm sorry to get you all together.
Really? We got a lunch.
We have to get together so often so we remember what we look like.
Some of us prefer not to, Mike.
It's just because you're so cute.
That's it.
All right, any further business or staff reports?
Not that I'm aware of, other than Lisa, who was doing the construction board minutes, has moved on to another department. So now we have Precious Parham. She's been with us for probably a year now, but so she's gonna start helping us out. So
Great.
if you got any questions, let her know.
All right.
Where did Lisa move?
Street department.
Streets. She got out of the city hall altogether then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then one other move. I guess I have two announcements from the legal department. One, we have hired a new assistant city attorney in the legal department, Miss Sarah Matthews. And with her, we are redivvying the responsibilities in our office. So I will be moving more toward real estate matters, and Miss Katie Driver will be attending your meetings from now on. So.
Welcome.
Great.
All right, if no other business, we're adjourned.